Welcome to Girl Call Me with Tanya,
and Jessica.
the podcast where Black women's voices shine.
Come for the empowerment and storytelling and stay for the sisterhood.
Girl Call Me with Tanya and Jessica's new episodes every Wednesday, everywhere you get podcasts.
Head over to girlcallme.com to find out all the ways we can continue the conversation together.
It's my favorite day. But before we go and talk about the topic of the day, before we go and start talking about the topic, I want to ask you, what are you most excited about this week? Is it the fact that the season, the WABA season, has ended? Or are you just angry right now?
My God, I feel like, why is everyone in my life a heckler right now?
I just asked a question, a very innocent question. How are you feeling? Won't you just tell us all? Let's have a therapy moment.
Aces. I'm still wearing my aces over everybody.
Did they get to the finals?
No, they got to the semifinals and they got beat by the whack-ass New York Liberty.
Okay. High five.
I said it.
High five to New York. High five to
I don't
women.
think we have any Liberty fans.
No, we may not have Liberty fans, but we may have.
You can't say high five to women. I mean, okay, fine. The season, great season. That's fine. But like, athletes are athletes. I'm not just going to high five them because I'm part of the same gender. I'm not rooting for them to win.
First of all, can I just start with the fact that the entire season you have been telling me I wasn't supporting women athletes, female athletes.
Yeah, now you're
and
like
all of a
supporting.
Sudden,
it's still sport. I don't need you just to be here to support the gender. Okay.
Wow. Well, this Wednesday is getting awkward. It's getting awkward this early.
Look, whatever. Next year, I'm going to more Aces games. I'm not turning my back on my team. I'm looking forward. Look, here's a positive about the WNBA. I'm very much looking forward to a Golden State team up north so I can go watch some games. And their coach is from the Aces, and she is the first Asian American coach in the league.
Yes.
So that's great. That's a win.
Clap.
Hooray. So I'll get to see another stadium. And that's about it. We don't need to talk about the finals.
We're putting a pin in the WNBA until next season. But I will say my wife has been religiously watching, and so she's probably going to have a few withdrawals that the season is now over.
Yeah, this is like a really bad time of year for sports.
Baseball?
I'm not Baseball's about to be over. There's only the World Series left, and then it's just football. Ugh. Well, women's college basketball is coming back.
Yeah, so
that'll be good. That starts in November.
You'll be at some USC games. I know that.
Season ticket holder.
Yeah.
Juju Watkins.
Come on, come through. But
do you know who Juju Watkins is?
Actually, I do, because my wife showed me a picture of her recently. So calm down. Okay. Don't. Okay. You tried it.
Look.
You know what? You may be focused on WNBA, but I am counting the days.
We know you've counted the days every single episode.
I mean, I don't know if I'm the only one that's tired of just $5 more, Tanya, or in text, or just the craziness.
I have text the word stop more than any other word I have. I can't, every single person, and even my girl Kamala, stop. That's what I've had to say to her lately. Stop. It's my 47th birthday. Stop.
It is her birthday.
Stop to end.
It is her birthday.
Stop to end.
I think the 20th is her birthday. And so we want to go happy birthday to our vice president and future president of the United States.
Did you see the video of her? She went to church this morning, or she went to church Sunday morning.
Yes.
And in Atlanta.
Amen.
And did you see when they started singing happy birthday to her? Someone started with like the slow happy birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my husband hates that. Whenever we're around and he's like, we're not singing that slow, boring. We have a black happy birthday. That's the happy birthday that needs to be sung.
Yeah. Happy birthday. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
They started slow and then it was like, oh no, we're not going to do this.
She was in full church mode. Girl. And then I was excited to see the brothers. Of Howard marching.
Where was Doug? I didn't see Doug. Second
Okay.
gentleman.
The second gentleman is probably busy because they're booked and busy. He's probably planning the birthday after party after church. So yes, she
Well, you
went
know.
with her best friend. She went with her best
Oh.
friend who her hair was laid to the
and,
gods.
and everyone, I streamed church, not that church. I just streamed another church service.
Oh,
I
no.
needed some I needed some in my life. But I forgot that it's October and it's breast cancer awareness. So everybody's wearing pink. And then I watched the Atlanta thing and everyone was wearing pink.
Yeah.
At first I thought it was an AK thing, but then I
No,
realized
it's not just AK. Pink is owned by other
other
communities,
things,
other things.
other causes. Yeah.
Well, I think we all need the Lord and we all need a little therapy because, like I said, this election is coming quick, coming fast. And if I have to see Donald Trump in McDonald's, in a fake McDonald's, it's time. The time is here. Time is over. So listen, we'll leave the politics to maybe next week, or we'll leave the
Oh, I
therapy.
lost my ballot, by the way. This is actually breaking news.
What?
I filled out my ballot. I signed it, everything. It was sitting on my desk. And I think
Voter
I was like
suppression? Did something happen? Voter
I
suppression.
think I suppressed my own vote.
Jesus Christ.
I I came back to my desk. I'm like, wait a sec. I think in like my packing and moving from purse to purse, I think I put it in a purse to like drop it off. And now I can't find it. I can't find my ballot.
Okay. I need you to get it together.
I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know. I Googled it yesterday. I can still request a ballot, but I think it's like I don't know that I'm gonna have enough time. I don't know. I gotta figure this
Okay,
whole thing
first of
out.
all, it cannot be
Stay
far. It
tuned.
can't be far. I mean,
No,
one
I think it's
purse.
either in my purse or I got crazy and I accidentally threw it away somehow.
Okay.
I accused Jay. The first thing I did was accuse Jay Steele of suppressing my vote. I said, "Did you?" I said, "Did you take my ballot?"
these
He's
brothers,
like,
these
"What?"
brother, that brother's trying to hold you back. What's going
Look,
on?
and he's like, "No." I'm like, "Did you turn it in for me?" He's like, "No." I'm like, "Okay, so I need to figure out my life."
you
So let me
have
get my life.
you have time. But so you know what? So let's just move on from the tragedy to talk about a topic that I kind of really enjoy. And it's the big B word of boundaries.
Mm,
Mm. And I think for many people, boundaries and the idea of saying no is so incredibly hard. And it kind of, in some ways, people turn themselves upside down internally in an effort to not say no and stretch themselves. And so I'm excited about us having this conversation because I know that you yourself as well have struggled with boundaries, right?
this is how bad at boundaries I was.
Okay.
Is I really needed someone to hit me over the head with the definition before I
Okay.
actually
Okay.
understood what it was.
Okay.
Because I thought boundaries was more like, I don't do this, I don't do that. Like black and white type of thing,
No.
like almost like allergies, right? Like I can't eat peanuts, not around me. Like
Rash.
I didn't really understand the flexibility that comes with boundaries and the nuance.
Yeah.
So let's give a definition so we're all talking about the same thing.
Yes. So setting boundaries for yourself is the process of establishing guidelines for how you want to be treated and how you treat others. Boundaries can be several things when you think about it. It could be physical, emotional, or based on time or
Mm,
space. They can
mm-mm.
also feel they can also help you feel secure and healthy and can promote basically your well-being. So, when you think about boundaries in the scope of and I love this part, showing people how to treat you and how
Mm.
you treat others, what shows up for you?
So the easiest way for me to introduce boundaries into my life was time, like the time and space one.
Mm,
So, and we talked about this like a season ago. Like for me, I used to carve out. I been slipping a little bit lately, but Saturday mornings is
Mm,
like I don't negotiate with people on Saturday mornings. Like maybe I guess if it's like someone has like a baby shower, like a once in a whatever type of thing, but otherwise like I don't. And I say Saturday mornings, but it's really Saturday until about 1 or 2 o'clock. So that was really like the first time I felt like I could test, not the first time in my life, but like the first time where I was like, this is a boundary I'm sticking to. And the answer is going to be no every time.
when was the last
That's probably my
time?
most recent.
When was the last time you said no to someone?
Girl.
Is it that long?
I never say no. This is the
Oh,
problem. I
wow.
never I never say no. When was the last time I said no to somebody? Girl, I said no to put up a physical boundary with my neighbor because she's got these dogs I don't like and that seem out of control. And I was like, I'm not walking down the hall when you're in the hallway. And
Okay.
she's looked at me. It's okay. Come. They're really nice. Come.
No.
I just looked right at her. I said, no.
Okay.
I don't need to explain to you why. I don't need to tell you. No. I'm not riding the elevator with you. I'm not coming down the hall. I'm not getting, no.
That's good actually, because you not only
I know.
you basically showed her how you want to be treated, and then
But
you
then
created you've lost
I've
what?
lost sleep. I've lost sleep over this.
What?
I
Okay,
truly have.
you really are
I
joking.
truly No, I really have. Like I'm like, "Oh god, she thinks I'm terrible." I've had to talk to JCL about it, friends about yeah. I'm
Okay.
telling you.
I have to
This
ask
is not great.
I have to ask a follow-up question.
Okay.
What about this person that's next door that's making you feel as though you couldn't have
I don't
set that
even know her
boundary?
name. I don't even know her name. I've seen her maybe 6 times.
So why do you care what girl next door with a dog feels?
Why do I care? I feel like it says something about me. Like I'm high maintenance, I'm uptight, I'm something.
We are so opposite.
We really are. I feel like it says something about me. I'm a people pleaser through and through. So boundaries are really hard for me because I'm an empath. So I think, gosh, I know this hurts her feelings.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about her feelings before I'm even thinking about mine. Like, oh, this must really hurt her feelings. This must be hard for her to have a neighbor that doesn't want to be with her. I mean,
Doesn't want to be with girl. No, you don't. They still will tell you no. Okay. What I need okay, so I'm so glad, and I think in a couple weeks we're gonna be talking to Kayla, our amazing therapist, who's gonna be joining us on the show because we're gonna be talking about boundaries. It's
Mhm.
funny because I
Because I don't care. You're like, it's funny because I could give two shits about
I mean,
somebody.
I'm like, girl, I'm sleeping. I'm snoozing. And they better not look at me wrong the next day. Cause I'm gonna be like, what? What you got to say? So yeah, it's interesting. I have a hard time with boundaries in other ways. Maybe more people I know and love. I care. I think in workplace, I have always worked just too much. And I've learned through time and through getting older and becoming more mature that ain't nobody going to care that much if you work yourself to a bone for them. An
Yeah.
employer is just an employer. I think
Yeah.
for people I love, I become friends with, I have a hard time letting friends go, but I can say no to you pretty easily.
Do you listen to other people when they say no to you? That's a trick question. That's a trap.
I feel that is a trap. And I'm not even sure I'm gonna fall. Let me okay, hey, okay, let me let you have that. Okay. Let's fall into this trap. Oops. Let me fall into the trap. So
Ah.
your question is, do I
Wait, first of all, listeners, our longtime listeners, you already remember when Professor Haddix was on the show, Tanya's friend, and she already called her out and said she puts her phone on do not disturb because that's a boundary and Tanya will try to jump right by it. So we already knew that.
hey to Marcel,
Hey girl,
hey
hey.
girl. I do hear no, but I think based on my profession, my chosen profession of being a fundraiser, we have a hard time. No is usually not today. When I hear no, I hear, not today.
Oh
And
my god, when
so,
I hear no, I feel like I hear like, "Don't ever in this lifetime say that thing to me
oh my
again."
god, girl, you are so extreme when it comes to all of this. This is a lot. No, yeah, when I hear no, and it depends. Honestly, and I will be saying, it's honestly depends. But if it's something I really want, I am driven to persuade.
Mm.
And I think I would argue that I'm persuasive. And I know the audience might say, you're like, who is this chick? But I do. I think it is, and it could be because I'm a fundraiser. It could be, that I've always had to, and actually, it could be because I'm a woman.
You were doing a lot of shout outs this episode, but shout out to Shelly. Shelly told me once, I said, "I feel like I'm really direct." And she said it exactly right. She said, "You start at a 10 and then your second sentence is like a 4
Oh
and then
God, you
your
went straight to
finish
four.
at like a 6." And she's like, "So that nets out at about like a 5? So no, you're not direct." And
No,
I was
you're
like, "That's
not direct.
actually the best way." I like pad everything because I say what I feel right away, but then I have such a hard time with owning my feelings, which we talked about like 2 episodes ago. I just have always had a hard time with that. So I quickly go to like, ooh, like tiptoe back. Let me like
Right.
pull out of that and like not ruffle feathers. And so the boundaries is the same thing for me. I'll put up a boundary, but then as soon as I feel like that boundary, as soon as I see the impact of that boundary on someone else, I'll negotiate,
How is
which
that,
is really
sir?
sad. I'm negotiating my own feelings. Doesn't serve me
Right.
well at all.
Right.
It doesn't
Right.
serve
Yeah.
me at all. Girl,
Yeah.
this is why this is my most of my therapies around this. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I'll
And it's
say, yeah, I didn't think this episode was gonna be about me. I thought it was gonna be about us trashing you.
you're right. You know what that how good I am about boundaries? This done
Gosh.
turned.
I
This
may
done
I may not
turned.
I may not show up for the part 2 with the therapist. You may not find that may be my boundary. I may be
I
like, "You
got
know what,
like this.
Tanya, you take this one."
No, it's so interesting because I say it 10. I mean, I think it's a flaw. It's a flaw. It's a fundamental flaw that
I
I
stay at 10.
say it 10. And I'm looking and I'm like, who is gonna call when? Who's calling
Yeah,
when? But does that serve me either? I mean, I don't know if it
right.
serves me. Maybe it serves me in
Yeah.
certain ways, but I think then some people are like, "Ooh, we're a little nervous." Tanya's
Yeah.
a 10.
Yeah.
But I think it took me time. I think if you were to ask friends of mine, they would say that I'm not good with boundaries. But
Yeah.
it's funny, it really does depend on the situation and the who.
Yeah.
And it depends on, as a true Jamaican, if there's money tied to it. And that's at the core, at the core. But, you know, explain a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about why
Oh,
are you
no.
laughing? No, let's talk a
You're
little.
like, "Let's dig in to
Let's dig in.
your
Let's pull up a couch.
let's
Um,
unpack."
no, let's talk a little bit about how, for self care, how boundaries is almost a requirement
Yeah, it is.
to preserve your mental state.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think so. An example. So what I do sometimes, because I know that boundaries are important. I should say this up front. I have to do a lot of stuff to manipulate myself into creating boundaries because I will just not naturally do it. So like a great example of that is like when I moved to New York. It was very much like I felt like I was here and I couldn't say no to other people for anything. And my entire life became doing things for other people. And so the way that I like got out of it, and this is like subconsciously a little bit, but in hindsight, 100% was like, oh, I'm going to put a physical boundary. Like, I am not
Mm.
going to do this thing, go to this blah blah blah, like, not going to do it. I'm not going to be here. And so I often like back myself into creating the boundaries because you're right, it is self-care. It's really like today, let's say. Today I was like, I don't have anything to do today. And I was
Yay.
just like walking around trying to figure out like
What to do?
what should I be doing? Yeah. And I was like, should I call people? Like I feel like I should be talking to people. I should catch up on all the people who I
Mm-mm.
feel like I haven't been able to call or reach out to because why? Because I've been caring for myself and underwater. And it's like, so the one time I had to breathe, I was like, how do I help others? When really I should have just been doing nothing.
Yeah. You think about boundaries, you think about family, and for
Mm,
me, I think this all of who I am and how I show up and how I don't show up is rooted in a lot of family. Maybe it's family trauma, but family just what you learn in your as being
yeah.
in a Caribbean family, and as a it's just I was listening. And I think you sent me something about this woman talking about how being the child of immigrants and how that shows up in so many ways when it comes
Yeah.
to boundaries and the word no.
Right. They were saying like boundaries is like an American thing. Just like the way that they say like therapy is a young person thing, right? Like
Right.
it's like
And
for the
for
weak.
right, and I think for Caribbean, like, boundaries, what are you talking about? Like, they would be
Right.
like they would be and I think they would just be like, "No." Like, they're gonna do it when they wanna do it. They're gonna do
Right.
you're gonna be on their time. Please
Right.
believe they're never
Right.
gonna rush for anyone. And, I think we put like I said, we put so much and I mean, I can think about the stomach pains that I've had in having to set boundaries with people
Mm,
and feeling physically that my body was reacting because I had to say no. And it
that's so
actually,
interesting.
what? Have you ever had that? Like, have
No.
physical, you've never had a physical
No.
reaction?
No, I have it like after the fact, right? I have it more
Hmm.
in retrospect because I don't feel it while I'm doing it because I just wouldn't do it.
You're
But
like, right,
But
I feel it.
I'll have the regret. For me, what happens is I have the regret and ultimately the resentment, which is for me, really, but I end up resenting somebody because I didn't set the boundary.
Yeah. Or you start playing it in your head. I mean, this week I mean, recently I had to set boundaries with someone. They were putting a list of things that they wanted, and I remember just saying, "That is not possible." And I paused, and I watched them think. I said, if we want to prioritize, we can't. I can't do that. And for me, that was a growth moment for me
Mhm.
because so many times I have gone, I'm just going to make it work. I'm not going to sleep. I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to work how many hours in order to get this done.
Right.
But does that serve anybody? Did that serve
No.
my team? Did that serve? No. So I made the conscious decision and I actually played it out in my head. And that's actually how I'm able to sometimes do this. I actually act it out. When I need to set up a boundary with someone and I know it's going to be what I consider a crucial or hard discussion, I literally will script it out.
Okay, so this is where I'm so excited for our therapist to come
What?
because
That sounds crazy?
I know because I was thinking I guess I do that sometimes, but like it's a very thin line for me of what turns into anxiety because I'll
Mm.
play it out, but it's not going to be played out one time. It's going to be on a
Oh, on a
double
repeat?
feature
You're like
on a
you're like,
repeat.
"This is why is this song playing over?" But no,
Right.
I'll play it out, I'll talk it out. Sometimes Jen will be like, "Who are you talking to?" Because I'll
Yeah.
literally be talking out loud, and then I go into the situation. 9 out of 10, it goes exactly how I scripted it.
Mm,
But it just has to be a certain like, you have to because people are I mean, I think I would argue that some people you're able to predict how they're gonna react. And so, if you study the reaction and how a person's gonna react to something, You
Yeah.
can set the boundary and hope that they will react in that way, and in some ways agree with the boundary that you set. Does that sound like a lot of work to most people who
Yeah.
are listening?
I mean, that does sound
Maybe.
like a lot of work. Yeah. And also, I feel like if you're super empathetic, it doesn't matter that you set the boundary and it works for you. You're still caught up in how's it making them feel.
But if it's about you
I
and
hear
what
you.
you're going to do,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
you
hear
should
you.
it's not
I'm saying,
about
but if you're
them.
someone who gets, so my anxiety will come from, it was funny. My therapist was kind of saying something like this to me about like my anxiety probably gets more wound up or something when I'm when my cup's not full, right? So
Mm.
when I feel like whatever, like I haven't been doing things for myself, when I'm then pushed to a space where I'm like, now I need to set a boundary with someone else, it's really hard for me to do it because it's like I I have no boundaries and then I'm trying to set this one boundary and so then that's all I can think about and it's like the dumbest little thing. But and then all I can think about is how they're going to react and how that's going to be even more that I have to think about and like sit with me is that
Yeah. We need calling
caught
Kayla.
caught
Calling
in the rapture. All
calling
I
in
need a
the
I
rapture.
need
I need to
I'm
phone a
caught up
friend.
in the
We
rapture.
I need to phone a friend. But no, I was mentioning earlier how in particularly white spaces and particularly in work that I really have felt that I have garnered respect from colleagues and from others because I think they know that there's a
I
boundary.
Yeah, I kind of feel like work is the easiest one for me because it's like I don't feel like I have the personal relationships at stake
Yeah.
like with family and friends. So work is like I mean, look, I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, but like I'm not gonna be sitting spinning about a situation at work
So
like that.
you're okay. So that's an interesting question. So I'll spin more about work than I everything else,
Nope.
but I'll spin. So you're saying that the same level of anxiety doesn't exist when you're dealing
No,
with boundaries at work,
not at all.
when you're dealing with personal
Yes.
relationships. That's
Yes.
when the spinning happens.
100%. Yep.
And I mean, I so that I guess the question is
Look, I'll tell you why. It's because I get validation from
work,
well, no, I know I'm good at work and I get
right?
validation from being good, right? And it's like I don't need someone to tell me I'm good. I see
Right.
my work product, whatever. In relationships, and I think that's just part of me and just like who I am as a person, I get validation from people being like, you're a good person, you're a good friend, you're always there for me. You're so a boundary feels like I'm cutting that off.
But how, if you're not setting boundaries and then you're also spinning, how does that
Mhm.
leave room for those things that you want to do or those people you want to enjoy? How does that
It
impede?
doesn't. I go overboard. No, I think it ends up being like I think I end up doing a lot of stuff for other people that just and remember like so here's the thing that's interesting. This is like callback to another episode.
Yeah.
I It's why I keep my circle really tight because I don't have a lot of people in my life who I'm gray with. You're either someone I could set a boundary with or I have a really hard time, right? Because I don't have a lot of other people in my life. So that helps, I guess.
What advice would you give other people who girl,
Run for the hills. Get a therapist. Get a therapist. Run for the hills.
girl,
Start being rude and leaning into
you know,
some type of energy.
you're like, I will say there is definitely an emotional impact and there is a physical impact for constantly saying yes to people.
Yeah.
There is, and you mentioned it, resentment, burnout.
Mhm.
I think in
Yep.
moments, that's when I've escaped raw. I mean, I know the times in which that I've kind of given and given and given, particularly in jobs, given and given, and nobody is like giving anything back to me. those are the
Mm,
places that I'm no longer at. Because I'm
right.
like, dust your feet. I can't.
Right.
And I think the relationships that I gave and gave and gave, those are the relationships I no longer have in my life. Because if
Personal
I'm, yeah,
relationships.
if I'm personally giving and saying yes to everything and
Yeah,
taking care,
you're quick to cut.
I'm not quick to cut. My best friend would say, and people would say I'm not quick. It takes a while, but I think the older I've gotten,
It takes a while, but
I'm gonna
you're not
cut.
gonna like,
I'm gonna
yeah, you're
skip.
not gonna be like go back and forth on something. So it
No,
may take a while, but if you once you get there, you're there.
once I'm there, I'm there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give a lot of opportunities, but the minute it is almost like a light switch, and usually the person at the other end is like, "Wait, what?" And I'm like, "Oh no, let me pull out my list of things that you have not been able to accomplish, but I got to go." And so, yes, it is a slow burn.
Oh,
But eventually the burn
uh-huh.
happens. But that's because I've learned that resentment is not good for the soul.
No, it's not. Resentment's terrible.
And burnout, and particularly in relationships, if I'm only, I'm going back to our friend from the quote I said, you cannot pour from an empty cup.
Mm,
And if you are not being fulfilled in relationships, and if people aren't giving to you as you're giving to them, it feels like a
yeah.
waste.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, okay, so going back to like how do I back myself into boundaries?
Yes.
Um,
Can we go forward?
I think
Do we have to
oh no, what I was
moonwalk
gonna
our
say
way?
is I think I was gonna say I think the other way that I do it is kind of going back to the friendship episode, is I make a really concentrated effort to have people in my life who will do the same things for me that I'll do for them. And I have no doubt about that. So, maybe that helps.
Well,
I don't
you talked a little bit about your cave, that you've caved a few times. That you start at 100, you're like, I'm strong. I'm going in. I got my script.
I thought you
And then
meant like my cave, like I go into
no,
a
I don't know.
cave,
You might,
which is true.
you might. But you start at 100, and then by the
Mhm.
time, but how do you,
Yeah, you
so
could work me down.
they can, so how do you stay firm? And it sounds like you don't stay firm. So, do you have, if you were going to give advice to yourself on how to stay
Yeah.
firm, what advice would you be giving yourself?
Say what you feel the first time.
Mm.
That's I don't even need to give that to myself. My husband tells me that all the time. Say what you mean the first time.
Hmm.
Say it. You know what it is. Why don't you just say it?
Regardless of how the other person receives it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I'm not often like struggling to figure out how I feel about something. It's more of like I'm figuring out how it's gonna land. Right? I'm thinking about that more.
You're so
I'm not
worried about the
struggling with what I'm thinking about.
landing that you're like,
Uh-huh.
and I think, I think you're about to do, I think you're about to do this. I have hope.
I'm on the cusp.
You're
I'm
on
on the
the
cusp.
cusp.
Watch out, people. 2025.
Watch out, friends and family.
No, I will say, look, I'm gonna give myself a lot of credit, especially before we have to do a part two with the therapist coming in here.
She's
Just
gonna listen to this
just kidding,
episode
Kayla.
and be like,
Just
"Ooh."
kidding. But no, truly, I in the past, since I've been working with my therapist in the past 5 years, it's night and day. I
Yeah.
used to sit with so much
Mm.
anxiety. I would get off a phone call with somebody, and it could be like something basic. And it was sitting with me, and I was like, how am I going to let them down? How am I going to do this? I have all this stuff to do. It's fine. I'll figure it out. Blah, 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 blah. Like it was bad. It was very, very bad. And like, okay, it was not that bad. I mean, this is not like, but it was definitely something that was handicapping me from doing the things that I wanted to do and I needed to do.
Yeah. One of the practical tips that I've heard, and you just said it. Just say it. Say it
Mhm.
out. Sometimes I've been known to be very brutal, and sometimes just so direct and
Yeah,
tone that people are
right.
like, and maybe they'll cry. I don't try to make people cry. I swear. I swear.
Oh
I
my
swear. I
gosh.
swear. But I think sometimes that's my way. That's how I'm going to get it out. And then I'm
Yeah.
like, I mean, and I definitely try my best to practice empathy and stuff. I really do. I may
I
be
really try to care, but I really don't.
this
That's
sounds
what you're saying.
okay. That's not what I said. But what I said is in an effort to just get it out, I
Yeah.
sometimes have to then hold your hand afterwards.
I feel like, what I learned, okay, here's a practical tip that I've learned.
Right.
It is not kind. I think that I'm being kind to
Mm-mm.
people.
Right.
I'm not being kind to people.
You're
Being
not.
kind to people is being direct
Yeah.
with how you really feel and telling them how you really feel. I feel like so that's what I've learned. Like you're not being kind to yourself, and you're certainly not being kind to them.
Yeah.
The truth is hard to hear sometimes, but it's the kind thing to do.
Yeah. And I think defining your priorities
Mm,
in relationships, regardless whether it's work or personal, if you can identify what's most important, and I know it's going to sound selfish, what's most important to you in the situation, then
mhm.
you can put up that boundary.
Yeah.
If having your time, whether I mean, I think about my wife, for her, it's very important for her to have her morning time. I can't be running around, getting loud, and spinning around in a circle.
How
Be-
often, how many times a week do you honor that?
I honor it actually every day.
Every day.
Every day, you know,
Jen, sound off in the comments.
everybody's got to be in the comments. But I do. And for me, I'm not a morning person, so it works out perfect. I've
It
identified the
it is
priorities.
very easy for me to respect her boundaries because I'm asleep.
Well, I will say at nighttime, she also goes to bed early, and sometimes I'll be bouncing. So at nighttime, I'm a bounce. I'm like,
It
I'm
is
like
very
dancing.
easy for me to respect her boundaries because I'm knocked out, and
You are
it
just.
all works out.
Why do I sound trashy? Why? This was your plan. I love how it finally turned. It's finally turned around.
Finally.
But no, I think identifying your priorities is one.
Yes,
Think explaining the why. I th-
that's where I get into I don't think so. That's where I'm getting
why?
in no, that's where I get into trouble. I shouldn't have to explain my why. If it's my boundary, can't I just say, "I'm not doing this"? I
Well,
don't feel like I need
your
to
neighbor.
explain to someone why. Yeah, I don't need to tell you why, because I'm
Okay.
nervous around dogs, because I've been, no, I just like, I don't want to ride in the elevator with your dogs.
Well, if if you're not going to explain why, then you have to let go of how others react.
Yes.
And
Yes. That's why I'm
and
like sitting in my house, like going, Jessica, get over it. The dogs don't
right.
care that you don't
Bec-
like. But you know what I thought the other day, Tanya? I
what?
actually thought this. This is a good example because it's insane to share. I really thought to myself, am I putting myself more at risk now because the dogs now know that their owner doesn't like me because they can feel the energy. So now am I at more at risk cuz are these dogs going to attack me because they're like, "Oh, we already know how you feel."
The dogs are not
They're
having
feeling the
conversation.
energy.
They're
So I
not
think
having
they may be
conversations.
feeling the energy
They're
from
not
the
having
owner.
conversations. Listen. I think that you're still there. I think you need to let this go. I need you to let this
Well,
go.
this happens every day is the problem. So it happened, but now it's every single day. It's a boundary I'm facing every single morning.
It's actually probably good for you then. So it's in every day you're being
I'm gonna
faced with
just go buy
something.
a bigger dog.
Oh Lord Jesus. I'm not sure that's the solution to buy a dog that can bite them first. So before they
Exactly.
bite you.
I win. Ha ha ha.
Listen, just have treats in your pocket and you'll be fine. Just in case. Always have food.
No.
But I think
Okay, but you're right. Starting little, a practical tip is little
what?
no's first before
Little
you think you're
nose.
gonna go setting a boundary with, like, some bigger thing with, like, some,
Start
like,
small.
yeah, like,
Start small.
so
I think if you
yes,
can
start
start
small.
with those little no's that maybe don't mean as much, then you can graduate to those big no's. And even
Yes.
if it's easier at work, I sometimes use when I use in personal, I'm like if it's easier at work,
Yeah.
translate some of that confidence into real life.
Yeah. Yeah,
So what have
that's
we
a good idea.
what have we learned today? What have we not what have we not learned?
We've learned that all now we've learned that anyone who listens to this episode who's my friend knows that they can get over on me because
Oh,
I have no boundaries.
let's just
And meanwhile, Tanya's the complete opposite.
I'm in the don't try it. Not
Always.
today. Don't try it.
Not
No, I think what we've
if they
had
need something, they're gonna from one of us, they're definitely coming to me for it. And I'm
coming.
folding.
Send them to me. But I think you know what? I think what we are talking about is the reality as boundaries are hard for everybody. And it really does depend on the scenario and the situation and the who. Because I best believe I have more boundaries with people on my team that I'm managing than my boss. It's harder.
Yeah.
People who that's those high stakes relationships that make it hard. And I think
Oof.
you f-
No.
you need a moment right there.
I do. No, I kind of do. I think it's identity, right? You're right. It's the high stakes.
Yeah,
It's the high stakes relationships that probably make up part of your identity that maybe you feel less secure about or that you focus more on or something like
right.
that, right?
Yeah. And I think if we've talked a lot in these last couple seasons about soft life, self-care, and creating room to take care of yourself. And so, if you're unable to say no, and if you're not creating boundaries, you really actually have no room. There's no room for what you want to do, there's no room for what brings you joy. And so, you have to actually, it's almost you have to.
Shout out to my friends because the way that I feel like I've gotten through it is surrounding myself with people who like help me and like point that out to me. Like I had therapy. It was so funny. I talked to my therapist a couple days ago and she was like, "So why did you schedule an appointment?" I was like, "Two of my friends told me I needed to."
Thank God for the
And she's like,
friends.
"So you made time for yourself?" And I was like, "Well, kind of." After like I
Harassment.
had a couple of friends be like, "Call your therapist." And so that's yes, self-care is totally important. Also, so is surrounding
Yeah,
yourself with people who will check you and who know maybe that you're not great at setting boundaries. And so don't take advantage of that. Instead, they look out for you and
right.
they're saying like, "Hey, look, this is a situation where I think you need to focus on you."
Yeah. So, what are you going to say no to this week?
Oh my god. Oh, that's a good one. No. Oh my god, I actually just got 2 text messages of people asking me to do things this week.
Mm, maybe as a no. There's a no to one of y'all.
No, no. One of you's gonna get a no, and you're
One
gonna
of
know why.
y'all.
What am I gonna say no to this
Yeah.
week? How about what I'm gonna say yes to this week?
Okay.
That's a boundary because I already committed to this, so I'm actually saying it out loud, so I'm gonna do it. I have some other obligations that are in my life right now that are forcing me to have to do things in the afternoons, and the afternoons is normally when I do my workouts
Mm,
or when I tell myself I'm going to do my workouts.
yeah.
So I'm saying no to things in the morning. Like I am going to
Okay.
focus on me in the mornings before 7 o'clock. That is for me.
Okay. So, no,
No other people's business
no other people's business before
except
8,
for
before
me.
9.
Girl, 9, I'm like 9, I'm already into my day. No,
Okay.
before 7.
Before 7. Okay.
Yeah.
Or I forget you early morning people who
Yeah.
care about. I'm like
9
9.
o'clock, for God's
9
sakes.
9 is where 9 is when I'm in my best. Actually, noon is when I'm at my best, but 9
No,
is when I'm
no.
functioning. So what am I going to say no to? I
Yeah,
mean,
what are you
listen,
gonna oh,
maybe
what are
I'll
you gonna
say,
say? Maybe you should say yes to something.
wow.
Maybe you should oh, no. Whose boundary are you gonna hear this week? Are you gonna leave Jen alone and let her have her mornings?
I love Jen alone today because she had her games she was watching. No, I'm going to continue. I'm going to continue to set my
I'm gonna
boundaries.
continue to do me. Okay.
I'm going to say no to, what I'm saying no is to toxic information that's going into my brain and corrupting it, like politics. No, listen, I think for me, because as you said, according to you, I have a hard time with other people's no's. I am going to walk in empathy this week.
Oh my
I'm gonna
goodness.
walk in empathy.
Wow. I'm gonna hold you to that.
We'll walk in empathy.
I ain't gonna look, we have a lot of our personal friends who listen to this
No,
show.
they all
So we are
looking.
asking you to keep us both accountable this week.
Jessica
Like,
is gonna.
well, actually it'll be like next week, but yes, I'm gonna be if you catch me texting you or talking to you or doing anything
Okay.
before 7 a.m. that ain't about me,
Mm-hmm.
call me out.
And if I'm not
And
walking in empathy,
If Tanya, you have a conversation with her and you just think that maybe she's not quite thinking about your side of it, call her out on it.
I'm
Jen?
evolving. We're all evolving. We're all evolving. And like, I want to ask our listeners to
Yes.
reflect on one area that they can practice saying no to this week.
Yeah.
And saying no does not mean that they are doing something wrong. It means that they're doing something for themselves.
Yeah. So everyone remember that when I say no.
Everyone,
What
including
was that
me.
book?
I guess
Yeah.
including me, I must feel.
Always including you.
Oh,
Hey, what was that book? What was that book? Is it Shonda Rhimes' book, The
Power of
Year of
yes. The
Yes?
year of
Yeah, The
yes.
Year of Yes. I
Yes.
remember hearing her talk about that. I was like, if this book isn't so crazy, like
Maybe
she
she
was like,
was like a
I'm
me.
gonna
Maybe she
she not maybe
maybe
she definitely was like
she was
you.
saying no to everybody.
I heard her. She's like, I've been saying no to everyone. I'm just gonna say yes to things. I was like, girl, I'll tell you what. I don't need. I'm gonna say no to reading your book.
I needed it. I bought it. I read it.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it
Oh
was
yeah.
good.
I didn't need
I
that book.
needed to say yes. I mean, it's like, and I think it's the point about it was
I need a year of
saying
no.
saying yes and embracing things that make you happy. That's the difference. The difference is you can, saying yes does not mean that you're doing all this extra stuff. Saying yes means that you're going to embrace your joy and think about what makes you happy and doing that and saying yes to that.
Yeah, girl.
I'm getting excited. I get passionate about these things. But anyway, so thank you, listeners. I hope,
Thank you for holding us accountable.
and I thank you for we hold each other accountable.
This felt like therapy. And now we actually have a real therapist coming on to talk to us about this. I can't even believe I signed up for this. Now I'm
Yes.
gonna have to like have real therapy on.
We might want to actually get her real bullet points and send her this episode. She's gonna be like, "Ooh, she may decide. Ooh, I'm not sure about these two. It's a lot. She's coming in." But no, we're excited to have Kayla on, and she is gonna really have this conversation about boundaries and anxiety. There's so much
Yes.
about that
I was
happening.
gonna say if you look, don't leave me hanging out here by myself. If you have problems setting boundaries, please send us notes. Girl, call me. Gummy.com or on our Instagram and tell us what challenges you have with boundaries.
Yes,
And maybe you
yes.
don't have challenge. Maybe you like Tanya, you don't have challenges and you say no to everybody
And what
and
I
you don't
said
listen
is,
to anybody.
I have challenges, but it's different challenges, clearly.
Okay. Or maybe you're like me and you're not even gonna have time to post it in the Instagram because you're too worried. You're too
About
much in an
everyone.
anxiety spiral about because someone asked you if you want cream in your coffee and you said no, I want oat milk. And
And
now
you were hurt. You
you've
hurt
been
them.
feeling bad ever since.
I can't. Well, thank
Let
you.
us know.
Yes, thank you for listening and take care of yourself.
Take care of yourself, please. Say no.
Hey, it's Jessica. Thanks for listening to Girl Call Me. If you have something to add or a story to share, come on over to Instagram or Facebook and join the conversation. Also, make sure you follow and subscribe Girl Call Me. You don't want to miss when we release new episodes. Thanks for listening.